Huge welcome to you all here. Pune International Center, about which Dr. Kelkar will talk a bit about when he'll give his opening remarks. But as part of PIC, I stand here to welcome you all for this program.
Shri Baba Kalyani, the chairman of today's meeting, our colleague Professor Amit Malik, Prashant Girmane, trustees of PIC, distinguished guests. I want to add my voice of welcome to our distinguished minister. Let me first invite the minister to release our policy brief on Pune as a maximum solar city, and then I'll hand over to Dr. Baba Kalyani to take over the fund.
It's a great honor for us to have Piyush here amongst us. I don't know how many of you are following what work he's been doing for the last 1.5 years. But I will just point out two things. A lot of his work has been written in the newspapers. Few weeks ago, the Mint magazine carried an interview of Piyush. But he has two websites which give a continuous output of the work that he's doing. One is on the LED bulbs, Ujjwal Bharat, and it will tell you the difference between yesterday and today in terms of number of LED bulbs that have been installed in the country and the amount of electricity it has saved. And it's quite remarkable. I mean, I have never seen anything like this, even in industry, in terms of information systems that are available. And this is on an all-India basis. You can drill down to a state, you can drill down to a city. So he can tell you in Pune how many LED bulbs have been installed and how much of electricity has been saved. And the amounts are quite staggering. I think some $6 billion worth of energy savings coming out of just replacing conventional bulbs with LEDs. The second is his entire initiative on the DISCOM side that has been started, which is perhaps the weakest link in our system of giving electric power to every citizen in this country. And that is also an amazing initiative that he has started, which is also available on our website in terms of information. And I just wish a speedy progress to his DISCOM revolution that he has started, because that fundamentally means that people in industry, people like us who are here, will get power at a very competitive rate and will make our manufacturing far more competitive than what it is today. So I think it's extremely important. You know, in Pune we pay 8.5, 9 rupees a unit for power in industry. And our competitors in the United States and Europe pay 3 rupees and, you know, in many places 2 rupees a unit for power. And I think this has become, at least for the manufacturing sector that depends on power, a big issue in terms of competitiveness. So I don't want to take too much time between you and Piyush. I'd like to invite the Honorable Minister to give us his keynote address.
New ideas, new thoughts, and contribute to the India story. Thank you very much, Dr. Kelkar, for all your support. Mr. Professor Amitabh Malik, Shri Prashant Girmane, I had the chance to hear from him about the good work that the Pune International Center has been doing for the last several years, and had a chance to glance at the various thought papers that have come out of this initiative, particularly the Reinventing India – that was put out in 2013. And as I was glancing through the index, I found it's a lot of resonance in the work that we are doing from what you had proposed. So I suspect Dr. Kelkar must have handed it over to Mr. Modi before the election. But I'm glad that we think alike, and I'm glad that Punekars and the intelligent wealth of knowledge that Pune has, and not today, it's a traditional trait. I think for years and maybe centuries, Pune has been valued as a thought capital of the country and has come out with some of the most brilliant minds. And in that sense, it's very natural that the Pune International Center should come out with such innovative thoughts, new ideas, ways in which we can fast track the India story and take it to the next level. I was asked to discuss about the Global Solar Alliance this afternoon. But before I get there, I'd like to set the context in which we are looking at solar or renewable energy or clean energy. Of course, I was just looking at the figure since Baba just mentioned. The LED figure as we speak at 2:07 p.m. is 9,29,77,400. A cabinet note was put up to me for approval to be put to the cabinet. And knowing full well the amount of detail that Prime Minister Modi goes into every paper that comes before the cabinet or for his consideration, I like to be prepared and read what's in the cabinet note. And I said, what is this? What am I supposed to do about this? There was this Perform, Achieve and Trade program, which you may be aware of. There was this LED bulbs program talking about some 1 million or 2 million LED bulbs to be given out on a subsidy basis. A program in the future where they'll give out 50,000 or 1 lakh solar street lights. Petty targets put up to me. I said, if I put this up to the cabinet, I'm certainly going to lose my job. And then as we got thinking and seeing what's happening, we realized the huge potential of LED bulbs. India had moved a little away from the incandescent bulbs into CFLs, and technologies evolved, so at that point of time it was thought to be great energy saver. In hindsight, of course, it's very easy for me to say that it should never have been brought to India given the very, very severe risk of mercury contamination in the ground that the disposal of these CFLs is causing to India. But I won't go into that history, but when I looked at the program potential, I was amazed that India continues to use 770 million incandescent bulbs. And if all of them were to be replaced by LEDs, the country would save 100 billion units of electricity, or in our Indian context, 10,000 crore units of electricity annually, thereby bringing down consumers' bills by about 40,000 crores at an aggregate. In addition, saving the country from 22,000 megawatts of additional capacity requirement in the peak hours, since bulbs or lighting is usually in the peak hours, and to top it all, reducing carbon dioxide emissions by 60 million tons per year. 22nd of May 2014, before I became a minister, Commerce Ministry had decided anti-dumping on America, China, Malaysia, another country, Indonesia. 4 countries. I pleaded with domestic manufacturers, don't insist on anti-dumping. We'll kill the solar projects. Solar power will become so expensive, nobody will buy it. I want to, in fact, scale it up so that costs come down. And I'm delighted and I'm obliged and I'm proud of our domestic manufacturers who withdrew the one case, having won the case, They've withdrew their application on 7th August for anti-dumping duty. On 22nd August, within the 90 days that we have to impose it, June, July, August, right? 22nd August, I actually flew from Mumbai. Finance Minister, Commerce Minister was sitting at midnight at North Block. And we sat down and I showed them the letter and the agreement with the domestic manufacturers. No agreement, no legal agreement, nothing, all verbal discussions. That's the trust they had in Prime Minister Modi's government, that they withdrew anti-dumping. And thanks to that, today, not only are we confident of achieving 1 lakh megawatts, not only have we bid out 21,000 megawatts last year, we are well on path to achieve our targets. We'll continue to support every domestic manufacturer and use every piece of equipment they make, and have been able to do all this at 40% lower prices than what was being procured a year and a half ago, to the extent that today, at 4.5, 5 rupees per unit of electricity, in many cases, solar power has become cheaper than fossil power. The Americans wanted to demonstrate to the world a victory, a trade victory. And I told the USTR, I said, look, there are some things that go beyond trade. Tomorrow, if there's a terrorist attack on you, will you first bother about the terrorists or about your trade pact? Climate change is no less a challenge to the world. In fact, publicly, the world has recognized terrorism and climate change to be the two biggest challenges before the world. And I would think any forbearance on trade pacts, any concessions on encouraging renewable energy, encouraging clean energy, on making the world a better place to live in, should have actually been welcomed by the world. And this is in a situation where the United States has 16 programs at their states where they give domestic content requirement protection to domestic manufacturers when they procure solar panels in the United States. And I got a call in the last 4 days from the US ambassador, from a senior Indian civil servant who deals with diplomatic issues, a senior person whom we have brought from the United States to help us in government and is a part of my government, all of us asking me, Piyush, what are your thoughts about this solar dispute? Is there still a headroom to negotiate? Because I think Monday they have to finally announce the findings. Rather, the findings are announced, but to make them final. And I have categorically said India does not bow its head under this kind of a pressure. We will fight it out. I will go in appeal. I will continue to protect every domestic manufacturer. I will take every solar equipment that's produced here. In fact, I'm soon coming out with a policy to further encourage manufacturing in India. I'll incentivize that. And I'm going to file 16 cases on the United States for their violation of WTO policy on solar procurement.
Solar energy can probably be less expensive than conventional energy in the next 5 to 7 years. And I think, India's initiative in solar is probably going to change the direction of world energy politics.
I think it's time that there was some balance between environmental concerns and developmental imperatives. What the gentleman rightly said, these concerns are being imported from the United States and Europe by very highly educated and concerned environmentalists and intellectuals. But they are not recognizing the balance that we need to have in an emerging, developing country like India. They're not recognizing that what holds good in the United States, and which in any case they don't even follow, that's a different thing, does not necessarily hold good to a person who's not got 2 square meals a day, or to a person who dies because of severe cold or severe heat stroke. At that point of time, I think it's more essential to see that we can reach water to that person. It's more essential to see that we can give energy access at affordable prices. It's more essential to make Indian industry competitive so that jobs are created and people become employable, get some self-reliant lives. So I hope organizations like PIC will play a leadership role in helping navigate the fine balance between development and environment. The rooftop solar is an integral part of our 100 gig program. 40,000 megawatt is what we are hoping to see from rooftops. I don't know why rural Pune does not lead the way in that. Baba, I was just seeing the LED figure, I've just given away the paper. Urban Pune has used about 23 lakh LED bulbs from ESL. Rural Pune, about 3 lakh bulbs. All these factories in Chakan and wherever all your plants are, Pimpri, Chinchwad, all of that. I think it's time that all of these places, industry, business, all starts replacing lighting with LED, starts using your huge rooftops with solar, and the kind of tariffs industry is paying, it pays for itself. Sure. So I would urge Pune to lead the way. And our target is 40,000 megawatt by 2022. I'm supporting schools, colleges, hospitals, government buildings through a subsidy, but private enterprise I'm sure can do it on their own. And the advantage is 25-year flat tariff. Don't ever forget that. You'll never get a better deal than that. And we are willing to fund it through REC, PFC at very attractive rates. So of course, Baba Kalyani will get even better than that when he goes in the market. And you're right about the ecological footprint. I already spoke about it. It is a matter of shame that they are not willing to cede any carbon space. Javadekar did a fantastic job in getting some of that into the final agreement. And I can assure you, India is not going to bend backward in compromising India's interests when it comes to grabbing the ecological space that we deserve.
It's wonderful to have our leadership today so clear in their thought process, so clear in their articulation of what is really important for our country. In one small word, I think we are in for an energy revolution of the kind that we saw the IT revolution about 15 years ago. And that's what we are talking about. So thank you, Mr. Minister, for bringing out so eloquently the issues and the priorities. We all enjoyed that and we'll cherish it. Dr. Kalyani, thank you for chairing the session and sharing your thoughts with us. That was very valuable and very appropriate. Ladies and gentlemen, a meeting is made of the people who are interested in such a meeting, and it's wonderful to see such a large gathering. Thank you very much. We must thank, of course, the backroom team of the PIC that makes things happen so smoothly and beautifully. And overall, let's pray on a day like this that the kind of pride and the faith that we talked about kind of stays with us, and the PIC is able to carry it through in the future. Thank you very much. There are plenty of copies of this little booklet that we released today. Please feel free to pick it up on your way back.